Welcome back to Dreams, Passion and Your Hong Kong Story, where every time we bring before you inspirational stories of amazing people from this magnificent land, Hong Kong. Today we have the privilege of having with us one of Hong Kong's most eminent businessmen. Let's meet Mr. Bruce Rockowitz. Hello Bruce and welcome to our show.
Hi, I'm excited.
So Bruce came to Hong Kong at a very young age, started his journey as a tennis coach here. And from there, he went on to become one of Hong Kong's most celebrated entrepreneurs in garment business. He founded 𝐂𝐨, grew it big. 𝐂𝐨 merged with Li Fung, which happened to be one of the world's leading supply chain management brand. And during that period, he led Li Fung and grew the revenue from $3 billion to $22 billion. After that, now Bruce founded Pure. He sits on many boards of many institutions. He is the chairman of a media company. He is the chairman of a publishing company. And now he also is the chairman of a food company. Well, let's talk to Bruce and find out about his variegated interest and his Hong Kong journey. So Bruce, tell us a bit about yourself. Where are you from? Your early childhood journey growing up. What shaped you today?
So, you know, I look back at my life. I started in the United States. I lived outside of Boston. I was always an entrepreneur, always. From 5 years old, I started. And people would say that's not possible, but that's what happened. At 5 years old, I saw an opportunity to sell flowering seeds door to door in my neighborhood. And I did that and sold out. A 5-year-old kid coming to the door. Wow. Everyone would buy it. And I still love flowers to this day. So I did that for when I was 5. And then in the second year, I ran out of houses in my neighborhood. And you can imagine my parents let me be alone, walking at 5 years old, selling. Did very well. When I was 6, I exhausted the neighborhood. And I went further and further away till got dark at night, where I got completely lost. And that was sort of the beginning of my journey of trying to find out how to get home. And so I went into someone's house I was selling to. They called my mother, and at 6 years old, my mother saved me. But that was the last time I think I was independent after that.
So you were an entrepreneur for that early on?
That I always dreamed of creating stuff, making money, doing businesses. And so at 11 years old, I started to play tennis.
I see. And
became a competitive tennis player. At the same time, I went to work. Same time, went to school.
And this is all in the United States?
All near Boston.
But you're a Canadian citizen, right?
Yeah.
Were you born in Canada?
No, by naturalization. I'm Canadian many years ago. And so at that time, I was working, going to school, and competing in tennis. The working paid for tennis.
I see.
And so I played many tournaments, became a top tennis player. And everything in my life has been around sports and tennis.
So where was all your early education was in the United States?
Yeah, I went to a public school, which is in the United States is basically just a school from the town school. Yeah. Nothing special, nothing private. Started, you know, our family were middle class. It was just a normal life, small town, but I was always very ambitious. On the tennis court, very ambitious to win. And then as time went on, I went to college, and in the middle of college, I decided to take some time off for 6 months and play tennis competitively. And I was offered to be the pro here at the Hong Kong Country Club at 19 years old.
So that's what brought you to Hong Kong?
That's what brought me to Hong Kong. And so I started in Hong Kong. I played some tournaments and also played and taught at the Hong Kong Country Club, which is a great club. I mean, it's still, I'm a member from 1979 till now.
Wow.
Yes.
So tennis, competitive tennis brought you to Hong Kong at the age of 19.
Yes.
So tell us about your journey after that. Like what exactly did you do in your very early stage in life in Hong Kong? Did you go back to the US or did you continue being in Hong Kong?
I came to Hong Kong and I've never left Hong Kong.
Oh, so did you not finish college?
I didn't finish college. I kept, I got an honorary degree, but I kept putting it off.
Okay.
And off. And then I thought, I kept thinking, when am I going to go back? But Hong Kong, once you're here more than 3 years, I think you never leave. It's such a great place. And it was fantastic. So in 79, 80, I was tennis pro at the Hong Kong Country Club, and I saw so much successful people doing very, very well. Never saw more Mercedes and Rolls Royces in my life. That was Hong Kong at that time. And I had a lot of very good customers that I was teaching, and I built relationships. Everyone thinks I became a businessman because of who I met. Nothing to do with that. Had nothing to do with the Hong Kong Country Club. By chance, in 81 or end of 80, I met 𝐂𝐨𝐥𝐴𝐿 by chance, and he had started a company, and he's a fashion guy, garment business, and he started a company in Hong Kong to basically supply his brand that he started in Canada, and for sourcing. And he said, I'm so busy, I'm flying to Korea or Taiwan to do production, and I'm looking for a young guy like you. I was only 21.
Wow.
And
did that how 𝐂𝐨 start?
Well, there was a Colby and Staton that he had with another partner before that, which was like 5, 6 years old. And so he said, do you know of a young guy like that? And I said, okay, let me think about it. And I don't think he was talking about, maybe he was talking about me, I don't know. We're still best friends, and we're still partners in many things. I said, listen, the next day I called him, what about me? He said, great. And it was interesting. At the time, I was making a lot of money for a 19-year-old kid teaching tennis. And we talked, how much do you need? And I said, the way I thought about it, I had no experience, and I'm very passionate, but what do I have to offer? And he's giving me this opportunity. So I thought about, how much do I need to just pay for food and my apartment and nothing else? Didn't care, just get in. And so, at the time, I said 12,500 Hong Kong. Okay. So this is 40 years ago. And
that was a lot of money even back then.
1/5 of what I was making in tennis.
Wow.
But I didn't care.
Okay.
And to anybody who's starting, just you don't want to get rich when you start. It's a long-term thing. Yes. And I thought, listen, as long as I'm not expensive, he's not going to ever want to get rid of me, and he'll give me a chance to learn. And we became very close.
But you had the vision. You probably had some intuition that, this journey could lead me to something big.
100%. 100%. I saw all the success out here.
Yeah, and you wanted to get into the business.
I wanted to get into the business. And so I got in. And getting in a business at that time in Hong Kong is better than doing the Harvard sort of 4 years business school.
Wow.
Much better. Okay. And so I lived, breathed, the two of us. We worked 7 days a week. We worked like dogs. We were flying everywhere. And if you think about that time, what was so amazing about that time is that the world, because we were really taking care of supply chain for brands and retailers around the world, but all production was done domestically. U.S. Produced for U.S. brands. Canada produced for Canadian brands.
Right.
It was all localized. The whole new paradigm was outsourcing and production getting too expensive in the domestic markets in the Western world and moving out here. So Taiwan was opening, Korea was opening, Philippines was opening. China hadn't opened. It was just getting word of it opening. So we were at the beginning, and here as China, think about this, there'll never be a moment in time like that in the world where 1.2 billion people at the time were basically cut off for 30 years. They didn't consume and they didn't produce. They were just enclosed there, and it comes onto the world. And we were here for them coming onto the world. If I knew exactly what was happening and what would happen, it was obvious.
Yes.
If you look back.
So
it
how did
was
the
really
idea,
obvious.
Yes, so how did the idea of Colby
Well,
come about?
it came out organically, because what happened was Alan was supplying himself his own brand, because he was doing a fashion brand, and he's now outsourcing his own brand here. And then retailers would say to us, can you also do this for us? Can you also do that? And it morphed. The company Colby morphed into a agent trading company to basically take care of the brands and of the world and retailers of the world, and they were all looking for a safe pair of hands to take care of their supply chain, and we were there.
So Colby's growth happened very organically, also a lot driven by market, or did you apply some specific strategies in place at that time to make it big?
We were always very focused on the customer and serving, looking at what their needs are and creating a supply chain for each customer. And so we understood the Western world, and we understood being here, this part of the world. And so we were kind of the middleman of understanding both sides.
And then you merged with Li Fung. How did that happen? Was that part of your strategy to make it bigger?
Well, what happened was, that was 20 years later. So we're talking about 81, we merged in 2000. So for 20 years, Alan and I sat next to each other on a desk in this business. And at the same time, we were very entrepreneurial. We were opening up other businesses. That's how 𝐿 started. And it all started very serendipity. There's a story to everything. And it would take us way too long to tell you all the stories. But in 2000, our company was the second largest trading company in the world after Li Fung. We decided to go public. And we were taking it public. And it was the dot-com era. It was the crash of dot-com. And so all the banks were saying, you know, this is a great opportunity. This is before the world crashed, before the dot-com crashed. And so we went on the road, and we were taking it public, and it was in March of 2000. And if you go back, it was the week of the crash of the dot-com crash. So in the middle, so at the beginning of our roadshow, where you go all over the world to market your IPO, we went to obscure places. At least I thought there were. We went to Sweden, we went to Milan to sell a Hong Kong global company. And I thought it was a little strange. But when we got off the plane, there were signs for every Chinese sort of dot-com company going public, and I knew we're in trouble. There's way too many people going public, and it's all dot-com. And everybody, when we were on the roadshow, was asking us more about Li Fung than us, because Li Fung was a very successful public company. We competed on a basis to get customers, but I never understood exactly how successful of a public company they were. And they really were very successful dealing with the market. And so, but in competition with them, I always felt pretty confident that we could get the customer, and I always felt pretty good about that.
So then you did not go IPO?
So we were on the roadshow, almost at the end of the roadshow. It was very successful, and then we arrived in London, and we saw the screen on the way back to the city, from the airport to the city, and we see the stock market crash 10%, and we knew we were dead. And so we regrouped, and nobody wanted to listen to an IPO. It was just the wrong time. We decided to pull the plug, and 3 or 4 months later, we were told, okay, now's the time. It's June. Now's the time to go IPO. And we went on the road. And doing a road show is 12 hours a day. It's very tiring, very hard. Time I didn't remember who I was talking to eventually, or did I say this to them or that? It's just so much talking. And we go on the road show. Same thing happens. It crashes again. There was 2 crashes in that year. And I said to Alan, I'm never doing this again. I'm done. I don't want to do this again. And we were out there. And everyone knew we were going public, and so did Li Fung. We sat down with William and Victor Fung, and we did a deal. And it was the largest acquisition Li Fung ever did.
Okay.
And in the deal, Alan would basically retire and go on and focus on what he does, entertainment, government, things like that. We stayed involved with each other, and I would stay and operate the 𝐂𝐫𝐨𝐼𝐳. 𝐂𝐫𝐫. Okay. And so, and for 3 years, and we sold it for a lot of money. I mean, it's out there, so it's all public record. And I thought, okay, after this, I do my 3 years, I'll go and play tennis I've been wanting to start to play tennis, not to compete, but just to do the things I like to do.
Yeah.
And as the 3 years went, we became close. William and Victor and myself. I worked very closely with both of them. William more on a day-to-day basis. And near the end of the 3 years, they sat me down. They said, "Would you take over running the whole group?"
I see.
And it was the largest job in the industry, bar none.
Of course.
Including retail, and it was the biggest opportunity, and I'm very ambitious. I didn't really hesitate. I said, okay, I'll put the tennis off, and I said, okay. And they asked me, would you stay for 9 years?
Why 9 years?
Because we work on 3-year plans.
I see.
And they felt that for the next generation of their family to be ready, they needed 3-year plans.
Ah, I see.
So everything's kind of organized.
So you stayed in Li Fung for 9 years after that, or longer than that?
Longer than that.
So what strategies did you deploy? Because I know you grew the sales multiple times from like 3 billion to 22. So what did you do to make it so much bigger?
Yeah, so I always say to William and Victor, I said, listen, it took you about 100 years to grow 4 billion. In my first 3-year plan with you, we went from 4 billion to 12 billion. And I said, you guys have been sleeping. And I always kid them. And literally in 3 years. But it was a good marriage. It was a marriage of East and West.
Right.
And so I think we brought marketing and fashion sense and relationships, especially in the United States. We were very focused on department stores. They were very focused on specialty stores. It was 1 + 1 equaled a lot more. We brought a great management team with us.
Right.
The first thing I did when I became the CEO of the group is I got rid of the name Colby. And my people were really upset, because they love Colby.
Yeah.
But it went a long way because it brought the whole company together as one, and the people at Li Fung liked that it was all.
So there was an integration culture that you put in place.
Yes, it was an integration culture, and then we acquired about 100 companies during that time. There's a lot of small company acquisitions that we rolled up during that time, but I was very focused on getting large outsourcing contracts with brands like Tommy Hilfiger, famous brands, and take care of all their sourcing. And that built us up, and we were growing. We grew, in my tenure, compound annual growth 25% every year. And that's kind of unheard of, top line and bottom line. And that's kind of unheard of. I mean, our value of our company went from 3 billion to close to 30 billion in that time period.
Amazing.
And so it was an amazing time. William and I always talk about we created something that was never in the world before, and that's what makes us tick. That's what made everyone tick.
And then why did you spin off from Li and Fung? And tell us a little bit about your branded apparel,
Well,
your own company.
you know, we started in supply chain. Over time, we basically created a lot of experience with handling and producing and designing for brands.
Okay.
And so we started to acquire companies that either own brands or license brands in the United States. So we built up a very big U.S. business. And when we in 2014, at that point I said it's time for me to step down. And I've done more than the 9 years.
Yes.
And I can't keep. It's hard to be a CEO of a company that grows that long, that fast. You just can't. You need a new person. That's the way I look at it. And very few CEOs stayed as long as I stayed. And so they actually said, "What are you going to do next?" And I said, "Well, I have a lot of investments, and I'm going to focus on that, and maybe I'll buy a brand." Because they know I'm a brand guy. My whole life has been entertainment, celebrities that we have to deal with from a young age, and branding. And I'm really very focused on branding. And they suggested, why don't we spin off all the brands of this company into two companies?
Interesting.
And that's what we did. We set up a separate, and we took the branded business out, where we create and the brand, or we license the brand, and we also do the sourcing, etc. for the brand, like a brand company. It was. It became one of the largest brand companies overnight by spinning that out. The thing that didn't go well is our balance sheet wasn't very strong. So we spun it out with quite a lot of debt. And that we were always faced with a very difficult balance sheet. So anything that goes wrong would put us into trouble.
Okay, so do you still run that company?
No. I stepped down at least 3 years ago, or 4 years ago. I cannot. 4 years ago. And I focused on businesses that you mentioned, like Pure, Dobro's.
So that was my next
Legend,
question. Yeah,
Legend.
So you started as of course you started a very young journey as a tennis coach, but then practically your entire entrepreneurial experience was in garments. And garment of course became bigger and became a sourcing and supply business. And then from there, you moved into so many different businesses. So you co-founded Pure, which is one of the largest yoga and fitness chain in Hong Kong, and
actually Asia,
even mainland China and other countries now. And then we see you as chairman of Dobro Holding, that does pizza. And then you have, of course, the media company and the publishing house. So you have so many different very variegated interests. How do you manage to run so many different verticals of business? What strategies do you put in place so you remain on top of the line?
The way I look at what I'm doing is I have a group of companies that are very focused on the consumer, which magazine, pizza, Dobro's, many, Pure. Those, and I'm very involved in them.
Okay.
Then I have a group of companies that I invest in that I could add value. And so there's two. So there I don't have to spend that much time. I just make sure I make the right deal and the right people in place. Here I spend a lot of time.
Okay.
And I very focused on building a brand. I'm a brand guy. I believe everything, a brand allows you to make people feel a certain way.
Right.
So if I say to you, Apple, you're not thinking of eating an apple, you're thinking of your phone. And that made you feel a certain way, which is it makes you feel good. I'm into creating brands that make people feel good and make them feel a certain way.
So a lot of your attention goes into brand building, and that's what actually helped you build, even though they're different business vertical, but they all come together for you.
Branding is the same.
Yeah.
And business is the same. Whoever tells you their business is unique, forget it. It's very, very much the same. It's common sense. It's hard work. It's passion. It's organization. It's all of the above. It's all the same. I don't care what business we're in. It's all the same things. And if they try to make it complicated, it's never going to work. And if they try to say it's different, they don't know what they're doing. And that's the bottom line. If you look at Warren Buffett, who's the most successful investor, bar none, to this day, and he's still doing it at 94 years old, he is very focused on finding brands that you use all the time, and he likes. He likes Coca-Cola. He invests in Coca-Cola. I mean,
so do you think being based in a place like Hong Kong helped you come up with these different business ideas? And how did you, okay, they are all consumer focused, and it's true that you love building brands, but there are so many industries. You did pick out some. You picked out sports and fitness. You picked out fashion, and and then of course you picked out food. What were the criteria you used to pick those out?
Well, first thing is, Hong Kong is the greatest place to start a business. 40 years ago it was, today it is. Has not changed. The world thinks that when China took over in '97, they took away our ability to move quickly or our freedom. All of that is not just, I've lived here, and you've lived here.
Yes.
We can all say we have the same freedoms we've always had.
Absolutely.
And what I loved about Hong Kong, which I'm a little unhappy that did change somewhat, is the world tried to politicalize us. Hong Kong before '97, there was no politics. People just worked, created, made money, and worked very hard. That's what it was. After '97 was the same. But then this political force came into being, and I'm glad I feel like it's kind of moved on from there.
Yes, it did.
It moved. Now we're focused on what we always are good at.
Right.
Listen, it's a very easy place to set up a company. It's a very flexible place. It has a great airport to get in and out. It has this proximity to China and relationship with China. Who doesn't want to do business with 1.4 billion people?
Right.
And who doesn't want to produce in a country with 1.4 billion people? It's an amazing opportunity. The world that doesn't understand China is scared of China. I don't know why. It's just propaganda as far as I'm concerned. China is an amazing place and always will support Hong Kong. This is a place that, listen, I've been here since 1979. I thought I'd leave after 3 years. Obviously, I haven't. And I can't find a better place to go to.
Yeah.
And so any young person, I would advise them, get on the plane, come here, start a business. This is the opportunity.
So Bruce, you started all these different businesses here. My question was has being based in Hong Kong helped you expand these businesses? Has being based, what kind of business advantage you got when you decided to invest in all these different kind of verticals here?
It's a very easy place to have a global headquarters. I can't think of a better place. Taxation, the ability to hire, the laws are good, the proximity to all the Asian countries are good. You look at where else could you do a headquarters of a global headquarters? Very few. I mean, there's London, there's New York. Maybe Singapore. That's it. But Hong Kong to live, better than all of them.
Definitely.
We got hiking, we got beaches.
Yes.
We have proximity.
Very good combination of multiple factors.
Yeah, and I always think about where am I going to go when I grow up.
So Bruce, I understand that you have invested in many different ventures and startups. So what goes behind all that decision of yours? How do you pick your investments?
First I always look at the people first. Every business revolves around the people. If they're passionate, if they're honest, do I feel good? They're smart. I know they're going to be hardworking. And then the idea.
Okay.
And so I can tell in an hour talking to someone the first part what they're like. And of course I could be wrong, but I'm usually not. And then the second part, I know right away if this is going to work, and I can tell you all the problems we're going to have. Even if I think it's going to work, I can tell you for the next 3 years what the problems are. And if we can solve all of that, then I'll do it. And so I'm probably involved in more than 100 companies.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are they mostly like startups, or are these like more established companies as well?
Mostly They begin as a little bit after startup,
Okay.
and then I grow with them. And so, and hopefully they do well. Not everything does well.
So people selection and idea, like those are the two main
Those are the two
criteria
things.
you use.
And I try to invest in where I could add value. So obviously in the consumer space,
Right.
I'm very good. I'm not a tech guy, but I understand tech very well. In fact, at Colby, I pioneered tech in the industry
I see.
from the early 90s.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm a businessman that understands tech. So I also invest in tech as well.
And the world is moving towards technology. There's so much digitization happening on every front.
Everything.
So are you more inclined towards investing in those kind of companies?
You know, it depends. You know, it depends on the people and depends on the idea. But the one thing I can say is the investments that I'm in, where I spend a lot of time, like let's say it's clothing, let's say it's food, people always are going to be, no technology is going to disintermediate people wearing food.
Yes.
Sorry, eating food.
Eating food, yeah.
Or wearing clothes.
Yeah.
You will always wear clothes, you always will have food. So I know those businesses won't be completely destroyed by technology.
Yes.
Technology will aid it, but won't destroy it. There's other businesses, you know, you think of like Kodak was destroyed by, film was destroyed by digital cameras like we have here.
Right.
Yes.
So how has Hong Kong been for your professional and personal journey?
I mean, it's my kids grew up here. You know, my wife I met here. Everything has been here, and it's from a professional point of view, it's the easiest place I can think of to work.
So what's next for you? You keep coming up with so many different business ideas.
Right now, I'm focused on a new, very big idea. Which I really don't want to talk about, but it's in the entertainment business, and it's a platform, and it's a global platform in entertainment.
Oh, how interesting!
Yes, yes.
So, are you ready for a rapid fire question round?
Sure.
That is getting to know Bruce Hong Kong story in a bit more fun way.
Yes. Okay.
So, last time you did something for the first time in Hong Kong.
Well, I rarely do anything for the first time in Hong Kong. And during COVID was the first time I did anything for the first time. I actually did some sightseeing and got to see Kowloon and different places of Kowloon and been there. But what I did last Saturday was to go to the Regent Hotel, which was the original hotel that we all garment people used to go to, and then it became the Intercon.
Yes.
And then it opened up last week or 2 weeks ago, at least the restaurants did. And I ate at the restaurant that we always used to go to 20, 30 years ago, the steakhouse. And that's what I did. And
wow.
And so that was sort of a nostalgic.
And what's your most favorite dining spot in Hong Kong?
Well, Tokyo Joe, I could eat there every day. And I love it. And then Black Sheep restaurants.
Which one is your favorite? They have so many.
I know. I like them all, and but I would say Carbone's for a good time.
For a good time.
Yeah.
Okay. And your favorite activity to do with your friends and family?
Is hiking and boating.
And what kind of hikes do you indulge in?
Hard ones.
Hard ones?
Yeah, hard ones. Yeah, and you know we did Twin Peaks. We go to Sai Kung and we hike. As long as it doesn't kill me, it makes me stronger.
And your most favorite hobby?
Tennis.
Okay, it's still there? You're still pursuing?
I love it. I'm still playing tournaments, like in my age group.
Oh, wow.
Pro tournaments. I went to Italy and played some tournaments there. I love it.
Amazing. If you were not a businessman, what would you be?
I think there's nothing. I think I always would have been a businessman. I was destined to be a businessman. I was not going to be a tennis pro.
Okay. So what would you tell people from around the world? Why should they visit Hong Kong?
Hong Kong's the most dynamic, exciting place to come. And what they read about is all wrong. It's quite different. And what they see is not just a city. There is 20 minutes away, you're on the most beautiful beaches in the world. And you have the most beautiful hikes. When friends come that have never been here, we show them, like you would, the localized places. They can't believe that that's Hong Kong. everyone has a wrong impression of Hong Kong. I came to Hong Kong because I was offered to come here, and I had no idea about Hong Kong other than I saw a James Bond movie, and Hong Kong was there, and it looked really exciting. And that's all I knew about it. And I became sort of a fan and dedicated to helping Hong Kong and helping to grow and giving people jobs. We like to help.
And as a business leader, what would you advise the global business leaders? Why should they invest in Hong Kong?
I mean, there's so many reasons, but the biggest one is what's next door, China. There's not a better place to base your office to sell into China, to produce out of China, and the way the border is going to be opening up over time to the southern area. This is just such a huge opportunity. Where else can you get such a big group of population that can produce for you and you can sell to? There was always that saying, you know, if you could sell one toothbrush to everybody in China, you become a billionaire.
Correct, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Bruce,
Thank you.
for coming to our show, and we wish you all the very best in all your future endeavors.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure doing this.
Stay tuned to our next episode on Dreams, Passion and Your Hong Kong Story, where we shall bring you yet another fascinating story from this amazing land, Hong Kong.